The diagnosis that changed everything. I remember the exact moment as if it's frozen in time. It was a warm spring afternoon. I had just finished mowing the lawn, the kind of task that made me feel productive and alive. As I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, wiping the sweat from my forehead, I noticed something odd. Just a tiny, rough patch of skin near my left temple. It wasn't painful. It wasn't even all that noticeable. But something about it felt wrong. I remember running my fingers over it again and again, telling myself, it's probably nothing, just a sunspot or dry skin. But that little voice deep inside wouldn't stay quiet. A week later, the patch hadn't healed. It seemed a little redder, a little more stubborn. My wife urged me to get it checked, and like most people, I brushed it off. I'm too busy. It's nothing. But deep down, I knew. 2 weeks later, I sat in a cold, sterile doctor's office. I can still hear the rustle of the paper on the exam table, the faint scent of antiseptic in the air. The doctor walked in, his expression carefully neutral. You always know it's bad news when they avoid meeting your eyes. It's basal cell carcinoma, he said, the most common form of skin cancer. But we've caught it early. I remember staring at him, my mind going blank. Cancer me. But I feel fine. I'm healthy, aren't I? It felt like the ground beneath me had shifted. In that moment, all the things I thought were important meetings, projects, deadlines melted away. All I could think about was my family, my wife, my children, my future, or the sudden fear that maybe I wouldn't have one. The days that followed were a blur of emotions. I was angry at the sun for the years I spent under it without sunscreen. Angry at myself for ignoring the warning signs. I was afraid of what would come next. Surgeries, chemotherapy, worse. And if I'm honest, I was ashamed. I kept thinking, how did I let this happen? How did I not see it coming? But amidst that storm of fear and regret, a quiet realization emerged. You can't change the past, but you can fight for the future. And that's when the real journey began, not just to survive, but to heal in every sense of the word. This wasn't going to be a fight against my body. It was going to be a journey of working with my body, to give it every chance to fight, recover, and stay strong. And the first step of that journey. It started with what I put on my plate, what I learned about diet, feeding the body, starving the disease. When people think about cancer treatment, they think of hospitals, IV drips, surgeries, and pills. And for good reason, those things often save lives. But what no doctor explained to me at the start was this. Every meal is either feeding the body or feeding the cancer. That realization hit me about a month after my diagnosis, right after my first procedure to remove a cancerous lesion. I was sitting at home, bandage on my face, scrolling through articles late into the night. I didn't want to just survive. I wanted to understand. What I found opened my eyes. There was overwhelming research pointing to the link between diet, inflammation, and cancer progression. And slowly, I began to see food differently, not as comfort or routine or pleasure, but as information. What I had to let go of. Let's start with the truth. It wasn't easy. I grew up in a time when meat and potatoes were staples, and sugar was just part of life. But when I dug deeper, I started seeing patterns I couldn't ignore. Processed sugars and refined carbs. These spike insulin levels and create the perfect environment for inflammation and cell mutation. According to the American Institute for Cancer Research, high sugar intake is linked to increased cancer risk through chronic inflammation and insulin resistance. Red and processed meats. Things like bacon, sausage, and charred steak have been classified by the World Health Organization as carcinogenic when consumed regularly. That was a tough one. I loved a good burger, but I loved my life more. Inflammatory oils, like corn oil, soybean oil, and margarine. These lurk in most packaged foods and have been shown to contribute to systemic inflammation. I began reading labels, a lot of them. If I couldn't pronounce it, I didn't eat it. If it had more than 5 ingredients and came in a box, I left it on the shelf. Was it hard at first? Yes. But something remarkable happened after just a few weeks. My energy began to return. The brain fog lifted. My skin looked clearer, even healthier. What I added to my plate, instead of feeling deprived, I shifted focus to what I could eat: foods that heal, that reduce inflammation, that support the immune system. Here's what became the core of my diet: cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, kale, and Brussels sprouts. These contain sulforaphane, a compound that helps the body detoxify and even triggers cancer cell death in lab studies. Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. Berries, blueberries, raspberries, and blackberries are rich in antioxidants and polyphenols that combat oxidative stress. Wild-caught salmon and sardines, for their high levels of omega-3 fatty acids, which help regulate inflammation and support cell integrity. Turmeric, a daily teaspoon mixed into soups, smoothies, or teas. Curcumin, its active ingredient, has been studied for its ability to interfere with cancer growth signals and inhibit angiogenesis, the formation of blood vessels that feed tumors. Garlic and onions. These humble ingredients contain sulfur compounds that boost immune defense and have shown cancer-inhibiting properties in multiple epidemiological studies. Green tea. I swapped out coffee for this cancer-fighting elixir. It contains EGCG, epigallocatechin gallate, a compound that has shown promise in slowing the growth of cancer cells. Whole plant foods, beans, lentils, oats, sweet potatoes, and quinoa, all nutrient-dense, fiber-rich, and deeply satisfying. One of the most compelling studies I came across was from the National Cancer Institute, which found that a Mediterranean-style diet high in vegetables, fruits, legumes, and healthy fats was associated with a lower risk of both developing and dying from cancer. Another study in the International Journal of Cancer found that people who consumed the most carotenoid-rich vegetables like carrots, spinach, and sweet potatoes had a significantly lower risk of skin cancer recurrence. These weren't just trends. This was evidence. This was science finally catching up with what so many survivors had already discovered through lived experience. My daily plate today. Here's a snapshot of what a typical day looks like for me now. Breakfast. Overnight oats with chia seeds, blueberries, a splash of almond milk, and a sprinkle of cinnamon. Lunch. A massive salad with kale, arugula, chickpeas, red peppers, avocado, and a turmeric olive oil dressing. Snack. A handful of walnuts or a green smoothie with spinach, banana, flax seeds, and matcha. Dinner. Grilled salmon with roasted broccoli and quinoa, seasoned with garlic, lemon, and herbs. Before bed. Chamomile tea or a small bowl of fresh fruit. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency. Eating this way didn't just help my body fight cancer, it transformed my energy, my clarity, and my confidence in healing. So if you're battling illness or just want to protect your health, ask yourself this before every meal: is this feeding my healing or my fear? Your plate is your power, and you get to choose what story it tells. The forgotten power of rest and recovery. For a long time, I thought healing was something you fought for, something active, something loud and forceful. I believed if I just did enough, moved enough, tried hard enough, I could conquer anything. But cancer taught me a humbling truth. Sometimes, the most powerful form of healing is rest. The years I forgot how to sleep. In the early years of my diagnosis, I wore my exhaustion like a badge of honor. I stayed busy, too busy. I believed that if I slowed down, even for a second, the fear would catch up to me. I worked long hours, even after surgeries. I told myself, stay busy, stay distracted, and you won't have to think about what's really happening. But late at night, when the world went quiet and the distractions faded, that's when the fear crept in. I'd lie awake in the dark, my mind racing with questions. What if the cancer comes back? What if the next scan shows something worse? I wasn't sleeping, and even when I did drift off, I'd wake up feeling just as tired as before. What I didn't know about sleep and cancer. One night, out of sheer desperation, I started researching why I felt worse even after long hours of lying in bed. That's when I discovered something that changed everything. Your body does its deepest healing while you sleep. During deep sleep, your body releases powerful compounds like melatonin, a hormone that doesn't just help you fall asleep, it also acts as a potent antioxidant. Studies from the Journal of Pineal Research show that melatonin plays a critical role in regulating the immune system and may even help slow the growth of certain cancer cells. Sleep is also when your body produces cytokines, proteins that fight inflammation and infection. When you're chronically sleep-deprived, those critical defense systems weaken. A groundbreaking study published in the journal Cancer found that cancer patients who consistently slept less than 6 hours a night had a significantly higher rate of disease recurrence and poorer overall survival outcomes. In simple terms, without rest, your body doesn't have the chance to repair what's broken. How I finally learned to rest. It didn't happen overnight, but I made sleep a priority, not an afterthought. Here's what worked for me. Early bedtimes. I started going to bed by 9:30 p.m. to align with my body's natural circadian rhythm. I learned that every hour of sleep before midnight is worth almost double in terms of recovery. A no caffeine rule. Afternoon. As hard as it was to give up my afternoon coffee, I realized that even if I fell asleep, caffeine was sabotaging the deep, restorative phases of my sleep cycle. A calm, nighttime routine. Instead of falling asleep to the harsh glow of the TV, I started winding down with gentle habits. A warm shower, reading a good book, listening to soft instrumental music or guided meditations, breathing techniques. My favorite is the 4-7-8 method. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, exhale slowly for 8. By the third or fourth round, my heart rate slows, and the tension melts from my body. Dark, cool bedroom. I invested in blackout curtains and kept the room cool around 65 degrees Fahrenheit. A cooler environment helps trigger melatonin production naturally. The morning I woke up truly rested. I remember the first morning after making these changes. I opened my eyes, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel that familiar weight of exhaustion. My mind was clear. My body didn't ache. That day, I realized healing doesn't always happen when you're doing. Sometimes. It happens when you simply allow yourself to be still. If you're walking through illness, or even just the weariness of life, don't underestimate this. Rest is not a luxury. It's not a weakness. It's the foundation of your body's fight for life. Tonight, give yourself permission to rest, not because you've earned it, but because you deserve it. And tomorrow, you'll wake up just a little stronger. That's how healing begins, one peaceful night at a time. The right kind of movement, moving to heal, not to exhaust. For years, I misunderstood what it meant to stay active. Like so many people, I thought exercise was all about pushing harder, sweating more, running faster. It was about competition with others, with myself, with the fear of aging. But after my cancer diagnosis, I learned the hard way that this mindset doesn't lead to healing. It leads to burnout. When your body is fighting a disease like cancer, it doesn't need to be punished. It needs to be nurtured. How I overdid it at first. In the early days after my diagnosis, I threw myself into exercise. I told myself, if I stay strong, I'll beat this thing. I started running daily, lifting heavy weights like I was trying to prove something. But the more I pushed, the worse I felt. My joints screamed with pain. My energy drained faster than I could replenish it. And most dangerously, I began to resent my body for failing me, instead of working with it to heal. One afternoon, after a particularly intense workout, I collapsed onto the couch, completely wiped out. My heart was pounding, my head was spinning, and I thought, this can't be the way forward. That's when I changed my philosophy about movement forever. Movement became medicine, not punishment. I realized that my body didn't need to be treated like an enemy. It needed to be gently guided back to health. So, I stopped chasing the burn. I started listening to my body instead of fighting against it. And what a difference that made. Here's what my healing movement routine looks like today. Gentle healing practices that became part of my life. Morning walks in nature. Every morning, before the world gets loud, I take a 20 to 30-minute walk. I don't wear headphones. I don't try to power walk my way through it. I simply move. Slowly. Intentionally. I focus on each step, each breath. I take in the colors of the trees, the sound of birdsong, the feel of the earth beneath my feet. This isn't just physical activity, it's meditation in motion. A study published in the Journal of Cancer Survivorship found that moderate, consistent movement like walking improves fatigue, emotional well-being, and even long-term survival rates in cancer patients. Gentle yoga and stretching. Twice a week, I practice simple yoga routines focused on stretching and breathing, not on mastering advanced poses. The slow, deliberate movements help me stay flexible, ease muscle tension, and calm my nervous system. Research from the MD Anderson Cancer Center showed that cancer patients practicing yoga experienced lower levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, and better quality of sleep, both critical factors for healing. Light strength training for bone and muscle health. Once or twice a week, I perform light resistance exercises using body weight or small dumbbells. Nothing strenuous, just enough to keep my muscles engaged and my bones strong. As we age, we naturally lose muscle mass, a condition called sarcopenia. This muscle loss weakens the immune system and increases the risk of falls and fractures. Even simple exercises like bodyweight squats, light dumbbell curls, or wall push-ups can make a powerful difference over time. Why this works: the science behind gentle movement. Gentle movement stimulates the lymphatic system, helping your body flush out toxins and metabolic waste. Unlike the heart, the lymphatic system doesn't have a pump. It relies entirely on movement to function. This is why staying completely sedentary during illness often makes people feel worse, not better. At the same time, moderate movement boosts the production of anti-inflammatory cytokines, helping the body fight disease more effectively without causing stress or exhaustion. The most important lesson: listen to your body. There were days during my journey when all I could manage was a slow walk to the end of the driveway, and that was enough. There were other days when I felt stronger, when my walks became longer, my stretches a bit deeper. The key isn't to do more, it's to do what feels right for your body today. So if you're facing illness or simply trying to build a healthier life, remember this: movement isn't punishment, it's a conversation with your body. And some of the most powerful healing happens one gentle step at a time. Tomorrow morning, try this. Take one slow, deliberate step outside. Feel the earth beneath your feet. Breathe deeply. And remind yourself, I'm still moving. I'm still healing. And I'm still here. The mental shift that changed everything, healing from the inside out. If I could point to the one thing that made the biggest difference in my healing, not just surviving, but truly living, again, it wouldn't be a medication or a superfood. It would be this: the moment I stopped fighting my illness and started living alongside it. The day I stopped waiting to feel healthy again. For years after my diagnosis, I lived in a kind of mental waiting room. I kept telling myself, when the next scan comes back clear, then I'll live again. When this treatment is over, then I'll feel happy again. But the months dragged on. The scans, the blood work, the endless appointments, and life kept slipping by. One morning, I sat by my bedroom window, looking out at a sunny day, and I realized something heartbreaking. I've been alive all this time, but I haven't really been living. That's the day I made a new promise to myself. I may not control how many days I have left, but I will control how I live them. The power of visualization and mental rehearsal. Instead of waking up dreading the day ahead, I started each morning with a mental exercise. I closed my eyes and visualized my body healing. I imagined my immune system waking up like an army of tiny, glowing soldiers, repairing damaged cells, sweeping away the sickness. I pictured my blood flowing clean and strong through my veins, my heart pumping confidently. And I saw myself doing the things I loved, laughing with my family, walking freely through the park, feeling the warmth of the sun on my face without fear. It might sound simple or even silly, but science shows this practice rewires the very fabric of our biology. Studies from Harvard University and the Cleveland Clinic have proven that when you vividly imagine a physical activity or a healing process, your brain activates the same neural pathways as if it were really happening. This isn't just positive thinking. This is neuroplasticity. Your brain's ability to reshape itself, creating new pathways for resilience, calm, and healing. How a shift in mindset changes your body chemistry. Chronic stress floods the body with cortisol, a hormone that suppresses immune function, damages brain cells, and increases inflammation. But when you cultivate calm, gratitude, and hope, your body produces healing hormones, serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin. These chemicals lower inflammation, strengthen immunity, and promote cell regeneration. A 10-year longitudinal study from the Journal of Positive Psychology found that people who practiced daily gratitude and positive visualization had lower rates of disease recurrence and lived longer, healthier lives even after serious diagnoses. How I practice mental healing every day. Morning visualization, 5 minutes. Before I open my eyes, I imagine my body healing. I see the cells repairing. I feel my breath growing deeper. A midday gratitude break, 2 minutes. I pause and write down 3 things I'm grateful for, even on the hard days, especially on the hard days. Evening reflection, 5 minutes. Before bed, I review the day, not with regret, but with curiosity. I ask myself, where did I find peace today? Where did I choose joy? Even for a moment. And if I had a difficult day, I don't fight it. I close my eyes and visualize tomorrow going better. From fear to freedom. This mindset didn't just help me survive cancer. It set me free from the prison of fear I'd been living in. Because here's what I learned. You can be sick and still choose joy. You can feel weak and still choose hope. You can face uncertainty and still live fully. My body may carry scars, but my spirit carries strength. So if you're listening to this now, wondering when life will feel normal again, stop waiting. Take one deep breath. Feel it fill your lungs. Remind yourself, I'm still here. I'm still capable of joy. And my healing isn't waiting in some distant future. It's happening right now, in this very moment. Here's the final inspiration and expanded call to action for this script. 20 years. That's how long I lived with cancer as my silent companion. It walked beside me through moments of fear, through sleepless nights, through days when just getting out of bed felt like a victory. But along the way, I also found something else. I found a version of myself that was stronger than I ever imagined. A person who could sit with discomfort and still choose peace. A person who could look fear in the eyes and say, "You don't get to write the ending of my story." A person who realized that healing doesn't always mean being perfectly healthy. Sometimes, it simply means living fully with whatever life has given you. If you're walking through a hard chapter right now, hear me clearly. You are not broken. You are not powerless. You are not finished. You have the power to choose right now, today, to take one small step toward healing. Maybe it's choosing a better meal. Maybe it's going to bed an hour earlier. Maybe it's stepping outside for a quiet walk. Or maybe it's something as simple and as brave as believing that tomorrow can be just a little better than today. Whatever that step looks like for you, take it, because healing isn't something that happens to you. It's something you create. One breath, one meal, one thought at a time. If this story touched your heart, if you found even the smallest spark of hope in my words, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that subscribe button and join me on this journey of healing, strength, and living life on your own terms, no matter the obstacles. And if you know someone facing their own battle, someone sitting quietly with their fears, wondering if they'll ever feel strong again, share this video with them. Remind them you're still here, and as long as you're here, there is hope. Leave me a comment below and tell me, what part of this story resonated with you most? Which small habit will you start today to begin your healing journey? Let's create a space here where we share our struggles and celebrate every small victory together. Because no matter how hard the road has been, your journey is far from over. And the best part, the next chapter is still yours to write.